You all know the drill. I only get to talk about shit when nobody cares about it anymore. Oh, hello. There's a little guy with me today. So, if you hear scampering or scurrying, is a little guy. Lore drop coming soon to the channel. We'll see how that goes. In all seriousness, I am sorry I ended up sort of skirting right by any good chance to talk about the new cutscenes in Yakuza 0 Director's Cut. I think everyone here knows I wasn't going to buy the game, so I can't speak on literally anything else besides the cutscenes. Other than the fact that saving anywhere now makes those payphones completely worthless and ruins any chance at immersing you into this new Kamurocho where payphones aren't a total relic, and further pushing the divide between old Kamurocho and new Kamurocho in Yakuza 6 where there's no payphones at all, and it's entirely on you to save your game. Also, how the English dub sucks and isn't well balanced, and anyone who still says Yang is better because he's playing a younger Kiryu is just kind of straight up lying to themselves. I guess I could say those things. But I know that's not what y'all want to hear. I know that's not what y'all have been asking for. And again, I am very sorry I ended up just not giving a concrete answer for my opinions on these cutscenes. Hey, apparently you can still get views from making a video about this stuff, so I'm gonna do that now. Maybe I'll end the video by spending the latter half of it talking about my shitty Nishiki fanfiction that I would rather beg RGG to make for me than actually write myself because I'm a lazy daft prick. Remember this, dear viewer, I love, support, and encourage fanfiction, but you have to actually be brave enough to write it for it to mean anything. What was this video about again? Oh, right, the new cutscenes. Special thanks goes to GamersPrey for uploading them in all 3 languages, because, again, I'm not gonna buy this game just to play and record those cutscenes, so, watermark in the bottom left. Go like that video up, he deserves it. Okay, first cutscene. Majima gets confronted by Lee's goon outside of the Nishitani family office. We all know the problems here. How the hell did Lee survive a car bomb? How the hell did he manage to survive being in the smoldering chassis from the car bomb for long enough to get saved by his dudes? Why does Majima need to get reminded to fix Makoto's watch when it seems like the most obvious thing he could do is a good gesture towards her, and spoils the entire ending sequence of that being his final gift towards her? Why is this scene presented here of all places, right before we get on track to find Nishitani in prison? The answer to all of these questions is because fan service. Well, the last one's probably just because they couldn't make a new story segment because this game was made in a week, but the rest is because fan service. Yakuza's primary goal with a lot of its storytelling as of Yakuza 7 onwards is just providing fan service. Players didn't like Kiryu's story ending on a note that prioritized the immediate narrative over legacy callbacks, so regardless of what actual issues Yakuza 6 had with its own story and how it attempts to conclude Kiryu's life, and it has a lot, the new goal is callbacks. And surface level fans love fan service, especially callbacks. This isn't to say that Yakuza fans in general are surface level, it's just to say that most of them are, because that's how it is for every single piece of media. Yakuza 0 Director's Cut is our first time seeing RGG go back to an older game with this new mindset. And what it means is we're getting fan service for the exact game we're playing. Holy shit, is this talking about that bit in the credits? Oh, do you know where Majima gives Makoto the watch as a final gift? That was such a sweet moment. Man, I can't wait to see that moment again. Yakuza 0 rocks! And it does rock. And that was a sweet moment. But that's all this cutscene is for. And it only sacrificed one of the best scenes in the game, not to mention one of the best moments for one of the best villains, to bring you this very necessary fan service. And yes, it's dumb that Lee survived, but I almost think it's worse that he just dies right after this anyways. At least, I hope that's the implication. They brought him back just to insert a completely unnecessary moment, and then killed him off after they were done doing this. The lives of the characters themselves are now secondary to how much aura RGG can farm from the moments they already know fans love. The only thing stopping them from doing worse is the actors themselves passing away. Rest in peace to the voices of Wenhai Lee and Homare Nishitani. Second cutscene, Kiryu meets the Lone Shark Man. This is where my personal gripes start to become a little more distinct from everyone else's, because I don't really give a shit about this guy being alive and not dead, even though it was a terrible idea and shows once again that plot is secondary to moments. My issue is what comes later. This cutscene's main purpose is to say that this dude knows another dude who's gonna make peace finance in Yakuza 1. The little guy hates that too. I think he hates it so much he fell behind the couch. You okay, little guy? My question is this. Who the fuck cares? Who wasn't able to sleep at night because we didn't know how peace finance was formed? Who was foaming at the mouth because this random loan shark wasn't integral enough to series lore? Who could this possibly be for? Fans of the first game? Well, here I be, and me personally, I'd prefer we get good writing and actual criminal intrigue over a name and a face behind the name and face we already got in the first game. Here's an idea if we really have to fan service Peace Finance somehow and are willing to stretch canon to involve Kiryu in some way. What if instead of going back in time to give some ham-fisted origin story for this organization that does not matter at all, we go forward in time? Focus not on the before, but the after, when Kiryu has long forgotten the organization even existed in the first place. Hirata was a human being, you know, with thoughts and ambitions. That was his name, by the way, if anyone else remembers that. He was in debt in the first place, so how about we find out what got him there, and how he dealt with having that debt forcibly acted upon? Kiryu may not remember him, but does he remember Kiryu? Did he form a grudge? Did he have a son who then took up that grudge and needs to meet Kiryu to reconcile not only with his past wrongdoing to that guy's family, but also to reconcile with the father he lost? Man, if only there was a game in this series where there was a sub-story that basically did that, and it followed up on the running theme of the ghosts of Kiryu's past coming back to haunt him, and his wrongdoings finally bringing a comeuppance to him long after he forgot he even did them. If only. Third cutscene, Kuze says the exact same shit again. Alright, it does go a little bit deeper than that, but I make no exaggeration. The first half of this new cutscene is just Kuze going over all of the same shit that we don't only know already, we've heard it from his mouth. Every word about how it's Kiryu and Shibusawa's battle, how Kazuma has Kiryu out in the streets risking his own life to fight a shadow war he can't know anything about. We got all of this in the first chapter of Yakuza 0. Why are we hearing this shit again? And it's not like Kiryu's any better, the whole game under his belt, and all he has to say is the exact same vague nonsense about how Kazuma can predict the unpredictable, and he wouldn't risk my life without a good reason, and I'll bury the Tojo clan if it gets in my way. This isn't development, it's the developers trying to remember what Kiryu and Kuze's arc even was in the first place. It's a recap. At the tail end of the game, we presumably just spent upwards of 30 hours playing, at least. Then we get to the actual development, finally. And what the fuck do you mean you learned you think with your fists from Kuze, Kiryu? What in the actual goddamn do you mean by that? Were you not aware of your own self when you started this game? Have you not seen a mirror before? Are you aware you exist in a world? And never mind, we aren't doing any developing. After this, Kuze just reiterates the same shit again, and then the cutscene ends on the exact same note the original ended on. If you needed Kiryu to literally bow to Kuze to understand that the two of them have formed a mutual respect for each other, I'm sorry, but you might be beyond saving. Also, Kuze says the fight isn't over, so he'll be back one day as a 100-plus-year-old boss fight for Cancer Kiryu to duel in a high-stakes shogi match. Or maybe when they're both floating heads in jars on robot bodies. Who knows? It'll be one of the two. Fourth cutscene. Guys, you remember Gaiden? Despite the way I set that up, this one somehow manages to be the most inoffensive one of the lot, just because it's not making the story of Zero any worse. I mean, at this point, Billiken surviving doesn't even hit me anymore. And I'll tell you what, disregarding the whole Nishtani the second thing and going back over the in a better life you would have been friends thing, I really love that he starts breaking down at the end. It reminds you that while Nishtani may have essentially been a raving dog putting up with Billiken holding his leash, in Billiken's eyes, he was always the one who kicked back against the system and fought for something morally right. I really like that he doesn't grow just by acknowledging Nishtani was a scumbag who did a good thing once. That kind of growth would ring hollow coming at the tail end of the game in a 5-minute cutscene, especially after you brought him back to life just to do that. Sometimes having a character remain true to themselves is just as powerful as watching them develop. Especially in the case of side characters, it can hit like a truck to know that while the protagonist may be completely changed, the world didn't change with them. It reminds you that things don't improve or even change in one swift motion, only in increments. It's the smallest possible compliment I have to give, but quite frankly, I'm happy to say at least one positive thing came of these cutscenes. Final cutscene, the actual worst thing ever. None of the others even remotely compare to this, and I don't have to talk about any of the actual material here to explain why. It undoes every ounce of drama the game tries to build. It reframes the entire narrative as one big silly adventure that we can laugh over with a beer and a sunset. It reassures us that, don't worry guys, this was all just another escapade for those danged Yakuza protagonist guys. I wonder what they'll get up to next time. Probably destroying their entire lives and fucking the Tojo clan permanently in ways it won't ever recover from, and getting their surrogate father killed, and Yumi killed, and Nishiki killed, and Kiryu wishing that he'd been killed with them. Yakuza 0 ends on a tonally perfect note of dread and reluctant acceptance of the passage of time. To add this scene not only spits in the face of a great ending, it tells me that we can expect nothing like this ever again. Don't expect stories that take themselves seriously. Don't expect characters dying or changing in any meaningful way. Don't expect anything to matter, because at the end of the day, we can all laugh it off and keep being best friends forever. I had a whole emotional tirade planned about how people died in this game and how Kiryu held one of his few friends in his arms while that friend's sister watched him die. Maybe I would have brought up Yumi or something and made some big parallel between the two of them. But this game doesn't deserve that much effort. Yakuza 0, maybe, but not this garbage. And that's all from me for now. I've got some bigger stuff lined up for the future, a small diversion for a bit, and then I hope to be back with a little double feature for the Yakuza series. It's about time I actually get back to ranking those styles, wouldn't you agree? Oh, and assuming I get this out on time, Gaming Will Be Funny once again, soon enough. Expect a little teaser podcast thing over the weekend. My algorithm's tanked anyway, I can deal with another video that gets a little over 100 views. Not to mention, what I've got holstered will be more than enough to boost me back into form. Special thanks, as always, goes to the insane gamers, Jespy, Hashbear, and Indolent Lard. And to everyone else watching, thanks a ton for doing that, and I'll see you soon. I hope you have a good one, and take care of yourself. Little guy, you got anything to say to the people? Here. 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 Here.